Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the noise, distill the essentials, and bring you the most important nuggets of knowledge and truly surprising facts from a stack of sources, all custom-tailored for you. Today, we're plunging into the incredible world of classifying living things. Your sources focus a lot on the plant kingdom, yeah, but we'll also journey through other crucial realms of life. Our mission: to rapidly equip you with foundational knowledge about how life is organized, why it matters, and, uncover some hidden stories and unexpected facts about everything from the tiniest microbe to the tallest tree. This isn't just about categorizing. It's about understanding the relationships and the grand tapestry of life on Earth.
What's truly fascinating here is how this seemingly academic pursuit, putting things into boxes, is actually key to unlocking our understanding of biodiversity and the deep interconnectedness of all living things. We're here to give you those aha moments that make complex information immediately clear and useful, providing that quick yet thorough grasp you're looking for.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning then.
Yeah.
Why do we even bother classifying? I mean, when you consider that biologists have already identified, named, and grouped over 1 million types of plants and animals, and there are millions more still out there, it quickly becomes clear it's humanly impossible to study them all individually.
Exactly.
So classification is simply our way of grouping organisms based on shared features, kind of making sense of this incredible biological library.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, classification transforms the study of life from overwhelming to systematic. Imagine trying to understand a massive library without any cataloging system. It'd be impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Classification allows us to understand the characteristics of an entire group by studying just a few members. It's like reading one book from a genre and getting a feel for the whole category. It also reveals the evolutionary relationships between different organisms, helping us place newly discovered species and, glimpse the incredible journey of life from simpler to more complex forms.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. For a long time, scientists had a pretty simple system. Just two main kingdoms. You were either a plant, kingdom Plantae, or an animal, kingdom Animalia. Pretty straightforward, right?
Seems simple enough, yeah.
But as science advanced and our microscopes got better, we started finding organisms that they refused to fit neatly into either box.
And this raises an important question. What happens when life doesn't obey our neat categories? Take bacteria, for instance. Initially, they were just sort of tossed into the plant kingdom.
Really? Plants?
Yeah, but they don't photosynthesize like typical plants, and some move around like animals. It didn't really fit. Then you had organisms like Euglena, a protozoan. It has chlorophyll, like a plant, but it also has an eye spot and no rigid cell wall, which are more animal-like features.
Okay, so it's a bit of both.
Exactly. These biological misfits force scientists to rethink everything. That's why in 1969, Robert Whittaker proposed a revolutionary 5-kingdom classification system.
A whole new way of looking at life. And those 5 kingdoms, just to give everyone a preview, are Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. Okay, let's unpack the first one then. Monera. These are truly the tiny architects of our world, aren't they?
They really are. Think of Monera as incredibly efficient, minimalist life forms. They are microscopic and single-celled. And unlike most other organisms we'll discuss, they don't have a true nucleus. Their genetic material just floats freely inside the cell. That's why we call them prokaryotes.
Prokaryotes, got it. Simple inside. And what blows my mind is their omnipresence. We're talking everywhere.
Absolutely everywhere. Air, water, soil, even inside our own bodies.
Wow.
They can survive in incredible extremes, too, from boiling hot springs to frozen tundras.
And they're so small you'd need a powerful microscope to even compare their size to something like a red blood cell, which is itself microscopic. And just to help get the picture, they come in 4 basic shapes.
Spherical.
Yeah, coccus. Then rod-shaped, that's bacillus. Spirillum is spiral. And Vibrio is kind of comma-shaped, like the one that causes cholera. Okay, so what's truly fascinating here, you said, is how these tiny organisms have such a massive, often invisible impact on our daily lives.
Absolutely. Massive.
Tell me more. Give us some of those surprising impacts. Because I think most people just think germs.
Right. Yeah, that's the common view. But many bacteria are incredibly useful. For instance, they're critical for medicine. Many of our antibiotics, like streptomycin, actually come from bacteria.
No kidding.
Yeah. And they're also essential in preparing vaccines, where weakened or killed bacteria help our bodies build immunity against diseases like polio or TB.
So a huge part of modern medicine literally wouldn't exist without them. That's a massive impact.
It really is. And beyond medicine, think about your food. The bacteria lactobacillus is what curdles milk into yogurt or cheese,
Ah, okay.
converting lactose to lactic acid. Another one, Acetobacter, helps turn fruit juices into vinegar. They're also industrial powerhouses used in tanning leather and even processing fibers like jute.
They sound like nature's invisible workforce. What about their role in the environment? You mentioned soil earlier.
Oh, they are nature's ultimate recyclers. Absolutely essential. They break down organic waste, turning it into valuable compost and manure. Some even produce biogas, like gobar gas from animal waste, which can be used for cooking fuel.
Wow.
And inside us, bacteria like E. coli in your large intestine produce essential vitamins B and K.
Right, I've heard that.
Even in herbivores like cows or buffalo, bacteria are vital in their gut, helping them digest tough cellulose from plants.
And you mentioned the soil connection. Something about nitrogen.
You're spot on. Bacteria like Rhizobium live in the root nodules of leguminous plants like peas or beans, and they perform this incredible trick. They capture nitrogen directly from the air, which plants can't use, and convert it into nitrates that the plant can absorb.
That's amazing, like built-in fertilizer.
Exactly. It's a perfect symbiotic relationship. The bacteria get shelter, the plant gets vital food. Other bacteria, the saprophytic ones, decompose dead organic matter, continuously enriching the soil with nutrients like nitrates, sulfates, phosphates. They're crucial for soil fertility.
But I'm guessing it's not all beneficial. Not all bacteria are our friends.
No, definitely not. You're right. They're notorious for spoiling our food, milk, meat, fish, vegetables, making them go bad very quickly, which is why checking expiry dates on packaged foods is so important. And of course, they cause a whole host of diseases. We're talking about things like typhoid, caused by Salmonella typhi, tuberculosis, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, pneumonia, Streptococcus pneumonia, Vibrio cholerae, diphtheria. The list goes on.
Okay, so a real double-edged sword there.
Well,
We've moved from the incredibly adaptable Monera. What's the big leap to our next kingdom, Protista?
well, the key difference is fundamental. Protista are also mostly unicellular, but unlike Monera, they are eukaryotes.
Eukaryotes. Okay, so what does that mean practically?
It means they have a true nucleus encased in a membrane, along with other specialized compartments inside their cells, like mitochondria. It makes them structurally more complex.
So a step up in terms of internal organization, more compartmentalized.
Precisely. And what's cool is their incredible diversity. Some are animal-like, they can't make their own food and often move around like the amoeba or paramecium, but others are plant-like. They have chloroplasts and make their own food through photosynthesis, such as euglena or various diatoms.
So it's kind of a grab bag kingdom.
It used to be seen that way, yeah, like a kingdom for the single-celled eukaryotes that didn't fit elsewhere. It's a kingdom of single-celled wonders, really, each with its own unique approach to life.
Let's zoom in on one of those you mentioned, the amoeba. What's so special about it?
The amoeba. It's often described as one of the simplest animals, though technically a protist. It's microscopic, found in stagnant water usually. What truly stands out is its ability to perform all of life's essential processes within that single cell, despite its constantly changing irregular shape.
Like a little blob of jelly that's alive.
Pretty much. Imagine a blob of jelly that can move, eat, breathe, get rid of waste, and reproduce all by itself.
So how does it manage all that without organs or anything?
It uses something called pseudopodia, which literally means false feet.
False feet.
These are temporary finger-like extensions of its cytoplasm. It extends these to sort of creep along or to flow around and engulf food particles. It forms what we call a food vacuole around the food. Digestive juices are secreted into that vacuole.
Inside the vacuole, not just into the main cell.
Right, to protect the rest of the cytoplasm. The juices break down the food and the soluble bits get absorbed. Undigested stuff just gets pushed out through the cell membrane.
And breathing. Waste.
Breathing is just simple diffusion across its cell membrane, oxygen in, carbon dioxide out. Waste, like ammonia, mostly diffuses out too. It also has this special contractile vacuole that collects excess water and squirts it out, sometimes taking waste with it. You can actually see it expand and shrink under a microscope.
Fascinating. And reproduction. How does a blob reproduce?
Usually, under good conditions, it just splits in half. It grows to full size, the nucleus divides, and then the whole cell divides into two identical daughter amoebae. We call that binary fission.
Simple split.
Very simple. But if conditions get bad, like it dries out or gets too cold or hot, it does something different. It pulls in its pseudopodia, forms a thick protective wall around itself called a cyst.
Hunker down.
Exactly. Inside the cyst, the nucleus divides many times, forming lots of tiny amoebulae. When conditions improve, the cyst breaks open and all these little amoeba are released. That's multiple fission.
Clever survival strategy. Okay, let's explore the fascinating world of fungi next. What makes them so unique?
Right, fungi. These can be unicellular, like yeast, or multicellular and filamentous, like molds and mushrooms. But here's the critical part, the defining feature, really. They do not have chlorophyll.
No chlorophyll. Okay, so that means...
It means they cannot make their own food through photosynthesis like plants do. They have to get their energy from somewhere else.
Right.
Instead, they are typically saprophytes, which means they depend on dead or decaying organic matter for sustenance. Or sometimes they're parasites.
So they're like the cleanup crew of the natural world, breaking down what's left behind. Or sometimes invaders.
Exactly. We're familiar with many examples: mushrooms, toadstools, bracket fungi. And the less obvious but hugely important mold fungi that grow on stale bread or fruit.
Yeah, the fuzzy stuff.
That's it. Let's take bread mold, or rhizopus, as a perfect example. Its body is made of these tiny, often invisible threads called hyphae.
Hyphae? Okay.
When these threads form a network, often spreading through the food source, that's what we call the mycelium. That's essentially the main body of the fungus, frequently hidden from view.
So the fuzzy bit we see is just part of it?
Often just the reproductive part. The mycelium is the feeding network. It also sends up these erect structures, sporangiophores, which bear a rounded structure called a sporangium at the tip. Inside are the spores.
Spores for reproduction, like ferns.
Similar idea, yeah. When the sporangium bursts, it releases the spores, which can travel through the air and grow into new mycelium if they land on suitable food.
Got it. And how does it get its food if it can't make its own and doesn't really eat like an animal?
This is truly unique. Unlike animals that ingest food and digest it internally, fungi actually secrete digestive juices outside their body.
Outside. Onto the food.
Onto the bread or the dead log or whatever organic matter they're growing on. These enzymes break down the complex food, like starch in bread, into simpler sugars, like glucose. The fungus then absorbs these simple sugars directly through the hyphae walls. It's external digestion.
That's incredible. So digestion happens first, then absorption.
Precisely. And they store the energy often as glycogen, like animals do.
That's fascinating. Okay, this raises an important question. How do these non-photosynthetic organisms contribute so much to our lives beyond just breaking things down?
Well, useful fungi are everywhere. Some mushrooms, like Morchella and Agaricus, are delicious and nutritious food sources.
Sure.
Yeast, that tiny unicellular fungus, is absolutely vital in bakeries for making bread rise and in breweries for producing alcohol through fermentation. Yeast also happens to be a great source of vitamin B.
Didn't know that.
And of course, as decomposers, they're critical alongside bacteria in breaking down dead organic matter, returning essential nutrients to the soil.
And medicines.
Yeah.
I think I know one.
Penicillin, absolutely. The first major antibiotic discovered from the mold Penicillium notatum, a game changer for medicine.
Definitely.
And some fungi, like certain mucor or Penicillium species, are even used intentionally in food processing, like ripening certain types of cheese to give them their distinct flavor and texture.
Blue cheese.
That's a classic example, yes.
But just like bacteria, there's got to be a downside to fungi, right?
Yeah.
It's not all delicious mushrooms and life-saving drugs.
Absolutely. They cause tremendous spoilage of food, leather goods, textiles, anything organic if the conditions are right, usually damp. Fungal attacks on crops can lead to significant, sometimes huge losses for farmers. Think rusts, smuts, mildews.
Right, big agricultural problem.
And in human health, fungi are responsible for common and sometimes serious skin infections like athlete's foot and ringworm, as well as potentially dangerous lung infections, especially in people with weakened immune systems.
Okay. So helpful decomposers and producers, but also spoilers and pathogens. Another complex group. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, I think, for many people. The kingdom Plantae.
Yeah.
This is the second largest kingdom you mentioned, with over 250,000 identified species, and they are multicellular eukaryotic organisms. What sets them apart, their absolute superpower, is the presence of that green pigment, chlorophyll.
Exactly. And this chlorophyll is housed in organelles called chloroplasts, and it allows them to perform photosynthesis, to capture sunlight energy and convert it into chemical energy, food. This means they are autotroph self-feeders.
Right.
Think about it. They literally provide the food directly or indirectly and the oxygen for almost all other living organisms on Earth. Life, as we know it, is possible because of plants.
It's humbling when you put it like that. Plants are the literal foundation of most life on this planet. Now, your sources cover several major groups within the plant kingdom. Can you give us the key distinctions, sort of stepping up in complexity again?
Certainly. We can trace a sort of evolutionary path in plants, from the very simple to the more complex. First, we have algae. These are mostly aquatic, found in freshwater, seawater, damp soil. They can be single-celled or multicellular. Most are green because of chlorophyll, obviously, though some have additional pigments making them appear red or brown, like seaweed. The key is their simple, undifferentiated body structure, often called a phallus. Basically, no true roots, stems, or leaves like we think of in higher plants. You can contrast them with fungi. Algae have chlorophyll, make their own food, mostly aquatic. Fungi lack chlorophyll, absorb food, mostly terrestrial.
Okay, so algae are simple, mostly aquatic, self-feeders. What's next?
Next are the mosses, or bryophytes. They typically grow in moist places, damp soil, on tree bark, rocks, old walls. They show a bit more structure. They have simple stems and leaf-like structures, but crucially, no true roots. They use thread-like rhizoids, mainly for anchorage, maybe some absorption.
Rhizoids, not roots.
Got it. And they're often called the amphibians of the plant group.
Why amphibians?
Because they absolutely need water for reproduction. Their sperm cells actually have to swim through a film of water to reach the egg cell, so they're tied to moist environments.
Fascinating requirement. Okay, moving up from mosses.
Ferns, or pteridophytes. These represent a significant step up in complexity. They're often grown ornamentally for their beautiful, often intricate leaves called fronds, and they have well-developed leaves, stems, sometimes underground rhizomes, and true roots. They also have vascular tissue xylem and phloem for transporting water and nutrients, allowing them to grow larger and live in slightly drier places than mosses.
So more like a standard plant structure, but something's missing.
Exactly. What's missing is flowers and seeds. Ferns do not produce flowers or seeds.
So how do they reproduce?
They reproduce via tiny spores, similar to fungi and mosses in that way.
Yeah.
You can often see these spores arranged in clusters called sori, which look like little dots or patches on the undersurface of their leaves.
Okay, so algae, simple, aquatic. Mosses, simple stem sleeves, need water to reproduce. Ferns, true root stem sleeves, vascular tissue, but spores, no seeds. What's the next big jump?
The next big jump is to the flowering plants, or more accurately, the seed plants, phanerogams. This is where things get truly sophisticated in the plant world, leading to the dominant vegetation we see today.
And they produce seeds, which ferns and mosses don't.
Correct. Seeds are a major evolutionary innovation, a protective package containing the embryo and a food supply. Seed plants are broadly divided into two major groups, Gymnosperms and Angiosperms.
Okay, Gymnosperms first.
Gymnosperms are often called naked seed plants. The name literally means naked seed. They bear seeds, but those seeds are not enclosed within a protective fruit wall. They're typically exposed, often sitting on the surface of scales, which are usually arranged into cones.
Think pine cones.
Exactly. Pines, firs, spruces, cedars, cycads. These are typical gymnosperms. They are mostly woody, often evergreen trees or shrubs. They don't have what we typically recognize as flowers. Reproduction involves those cones.
So their fruit is essentially just the cone, which opens to release the seeds.
Pretty much, yeah. The cone scales open up and the seeds, often winged, are dispersed, usually by wind.
Okay, naked seeds in cones. What about the other group, Angiosperms?
Angiosperms are the case seed plants, or flowering plants. This is the largest and most diverse group of plants on Earth. These are the ones we're most familiar with because they bear flowers, fruits, and seeds, and critically, their seeds are enclosed within a protective structure, the fruit, which develops from the ovary of the flower.
So the fruit is key here.
Absolutely. The flower is the reproductive structure, and after fertilization, the ovary develops into the fruit, which protects the developing seeds and often aids in their dispersal. Think tasty fruits eaten by animals or winged fruits carried by wind. This group includes everything from tiny herbs like grass to shrubs like roses to vast trees like oaks and mangoes. Examples are everywhere: rice, wheat, mangoes, peas, sunflowers, sugarcane, cashews. Almost everything we cultivate for food.
Dominant group for sure. And even within angiosperms, there's another important distinction based on what's inside the seed itself, right? The cotyledons.
That's right. Angiosperms are further divided into monocotyledons, or monocots, and dicotyledons, or dicots, based on the number of seed leaves or cotyledons present in the embryo within the seed.
Okay, monocots.
Monocots have just a single cotyledon. This seed leaf often serves mainly to transfer food from the seed's storage tissue, endosperm, to the embryo, rather than storing much itself. Think of grasses, lilies, orchids, palms, rice, wheat, corn, sugarcane.
How can you tell them apart visually besides the seed?
Monocots usually have leaves with parallel veins running along the length of the leaf. Their flower parts are typically in multiples of 3. And they tend to have fibrous root systems, a dense network of thin roots rather than one main root. Their stems are often hollow, like bamboo.
Parallel veins, fibrous roots, flower parts in threes,
Got it.
and dicots.
Dicots, as the name suggests, have 2 cotyledons. These often store food for the embryo and may even become the first green leaves after germination. Examples are numerous. Beans, peas, lentils, roses, sunflowers, daisies, oaks, maples, mangoes, brinjal, tomatoes, most broad-leaved plants.
And their characteristics.
Dicots typically have leaves with a net-like or reticulate pattern of veins. Their flower parts are usually in multiples of 4 or 5, and they tend to have a taproot system, with one main prominent root growing downwards, off which smaller lateral roots branch. Their stems are usually solid.
2 cotyledons, net-like veins, taproot flower parts in 4s or 5s. Okay, that makes sense. Helps distinguish them. Wow. Okay, so what does this all mean for you, the listener? You've just taken a really rapid deep dive into the incredible diversity and organization of life. From the simplest single-celled bacteria in Monera, through the eukaryotic wonders of Protista, the unique decomposers in fungi, all the way to the majestic, complex flowering plants in Plantae. You've now got a shortcut, a framework for understanding the foundational principles of how life is categorized. And hopefully you've had a few aha moments along the way, appreciating the intricate connections across all living things.
Absolutely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, classification does help us categorize the known. It gives us that structure, but the natural world is always evolving. It's always surprising us. Think about how many organisms are still undiscovered, especially in deep oceans or soil or extreme environments.
Yeah, there must be millions more.
Easily. Or think about how even well-known species continue to reveal new, fascinating characteristics through genetics or biochemistry things that might challenge our current neat categories. So the question to ponder is, what new kingdoms or subdivisions might future biologists propose as we deepen our understanding of life itself? And what will that tell us about our own place in this grand, constantly unfolding story of life on Earth?